no idea what they're doing?
Well, they would never admit it if they did, but I don't think the pilots are in control of it. I think there's automatic satellite computer control of the planes. I believe that's true.
Wow. That's just, it's really mind-blowing that, people talk, oh, conspiracy, but that is like, just off the chart crazy.
Well, let me address what you just said.
Sure.
Conspiracy is a good word. Conspiracy is in the dictionary. There have been thousands of conspiracies in history. Lincoln was assassinated through a conspiracy. Kennedy was assassinated because of a conspiracy. You can pull up hundreds of conspiracies. There's nothing bad about that word. Anybody that criticizes you and makes fun of your conspiracy, that's silliness.
Right.
Use it frequently. Use it proudly. Conspiracy is the word, yeah.
And I've heard chemtrailing mentioned in the same context as the global dimming program. I've heard the ducting. I mean, I've experienced ducting over in Iraq myself, where your surface search radar gets 100 miles when really it should just be line of sight, and you get that because of the the atmospheric conditions. But I see, much like Scalar technology, I see many uses or many things that they're using these chemtrails for. And what would you say the most common use of these chemtrails would be?
Well, the primary principal use is for the radio frequency mission planner system of the Navy.
Right.
Admiral Jeremiah Borda lived up in Northern Virginia, Washington, Maryland, somewhere up there.
Yes, I remember him well.
Admiral Borda was the chief of naval operations. The program is naval.
And
Admiral Borda did not approve of the program.
And
so Admiral Borda killed himself in his home.
Right, over an alleged combat V on one of his ribbons.
That's absolutely ridiculous. He was underage when he joined the Navy. He came up through the lowest rank of the Navy to become an admiral commander of operations for the entire Navy of the United States. Now, nobody in that position would kill himself over a medal on his uniform. That's ludicrous.
That's right.
He was a Jewish man, and he was well-liked. He was honored by the men and by the people that worked with him. He did not kill himself. He was assassinated. Minutes after, I remember watching on television news, the ABC News reporter girl was standing in front of the house telling everybody, as they were putting yellow ribbon around the front yard, she was telling everybody that he had killed himself because he was so embarrassed and ashamed of the medal that he wore on his uniform. Now, that doesn't make any sense at all. The fact is that he opposed the chemtrail and they took him out. I think that's my opinion.
Well, there's a lot of that going around, it seems. Our government has a habit of seemingly always being in the middle of something that you can always find a conspirator of one sort or another with everything that's going on. I mean, we constantly live being terrorized by our own country. And these other nations are being terrorized by our own country. Yeah. Yes, it was.
Oh, that's right.
But you see these chemtrails all over the world, Griff. So I mean, is everybody doing the same thing?
Well, I sort of think myself. This is my opinion again, that it was sold to other foreign governments as a way of addressing global warming. And I think that's one of the reasons Al Gore went off the deep end with global warming. Now, that's only my opinion.
Right.
But something had to occur to make all of the governments fall in line on that. Actually, it's a military program that benefits the American military and the Navy. But there's a whole lot more to it. Now, weather is being controlled over North America.
Right.
Weather has been controlled by the Russian Scalars. By the way, HARP doesn't have anything to do with it. HARP is a gazillion-watt transmitter in Alaska. You can find it on the map. You can drive to it. I mean, it's not It's not a secretive thing at all. It's a big transmitter, and it'll heat spots in the upper regions. The scalar is an entirely different thing. They're different transmitters that are used, and they're huge. They can be anywhere. I've often wondered why the United States can't find them. But 10 nations have the capability. Israel, the United States, Brazil has scalar technology. China, the Russians, and several others.
So HARP has nothing to do with the scalar?
I don't think so. I know a lot of people believe that, but they don't know about the workings of the scalar. I doubt if too many people have read all of Tom Bearden's writings on the internet. It's extensive, isn't it?
To me, it would seem like the HARP is small beans compared to the scalar, just from what I've read about it.
I think it is. I think the HARP is old technology, and I think it's a heater, and I think it can ping the upper atmospheres. There's some more to the HARP, but I just don't think that's the main and only villain in this. I think there's much more to it.
Well, you see that HARP is a large array of antennas. What would make up a standard issue scalar system in comparison to the HARP? What's the differences between?
That's a good question. I don't know that I know the answer to that. I've never seen a scalar transmitter. I would think that the RF coming out of the scalar device would be super concentrated.
Right.
And I don't know that you can really do that. Like, for instance, to hit the well hole 1 mile under the ocean, and make an earthquake appear right there.
And I guess that's my problem is, and again, I'm just touching the surface of this, is trying to put a grasp on something tangible and understand it from my frame of reference, I guess you could say. And there's just nothing that I can think of, because this employs quantum physics, where you're talking about the basic concept of scalar is that it's taking advantage or capturing that energy in the vacuum that exists all around us, employing the whole fourth dimensional theory, or the dimension of time. And that's just what absolutely blows my mind, is that here you got a guy, Tesla, in the early 20th century, that came up with this stuff, and you got to ask yourself, how does a guy like this come around and know this kind of stuff? And even more so, you're talking about the guy that created alternating current and the death ray, and I think he had a hand, and he knew how to crack the earth in half.
Yes, he said he could do that.
And I gotta tell you,
or was he on top of it?
I think that they made him out to be delusional, but I don't think he was delusional at all.
That's what our country has a tendency to do. Anytime you bring some truth into something, they make you out to be delusional.
Right. And I think he was eccentric. Doing some reading up on him, he was an eccentric man. But what, you take a look at these brilliant people in the world today that make these innovations and do these things, they typically are eccentric. The balance is a little off kilter, where, you got the brains to do this, you're book smart, but you're not coordinated, or you're not a people person, or something like that. So your social skills tend to suffer when you have that much intelligence. But Tesla was so far ahead of his time that there's really, I can't look back in history and find a game changer like he was, on that level.
There's nothing to compare him with. One thing that impressed me, he had women flocking after him, which really surprised me to read that in some of the descriptions. women constantly after him, and he said